And then we're going to look at our online learning platform with the synchronized mobile app. And Nick and Arif will be taking you through getting you registered on our Moodle platform. Day 2 is a large interactive exercise. I'm not sure if you're going to groan at that point or not. We think this is the best way to introduce you to the toolkit. We're going to give you some material which is in digital format. Then we want to give you 3 examples of a student you might support. Somebody with a mobility issue, somebody with a visual issue, and the perspective of a teacher. And we want you to work in your groups to improve those materials, to make them more accessible using the toolkit. Then, audience participation, we want you to come up and reflect upon what you might have learned, what you think is positive about the toolkit. And with your permission, we'll record some of your feedback, because we want this session to be yet another Moodle course on our platform, your real experience. Then the final day, we have some very interesting educational tools which are driven by artificial intelligence. One of the first ones is around an engagement app. Engagement's really important in higher education. If students aren't engaged, they're going to learn less. We have some clever computer scientists clearly sitting in front of us. So just when students work on a PC with a camera, if we look at things like facial emotional expression, eye gaze, even physiological symptoms, signals such as that can be understood just by a camera using some more advanced algorithms and machine learning, because we're all working in machine learning, we can see the emotional states of learners to do with learning. Are they engaged, bored, or frustrated? And if, as a teacher, you find your students are bored or frustrated, you can intervene with different activities, change the level of challenge of the learning materials so that all students are supported to reach their full potential. Then we're going to look at how you might help us prove that the toolkit is actually making a difference in your practice. And then we'll show you some other projects that we develop. The first one is Phase 4 AI. This is how we predict very aggressive cancers using synthetic data. It's very hard in the UK and Europe to get through to medical records, but we can produce synthetic versions of these, give them to AI developers, and they can identify patients at the greatest risk of cancers very early for early treatment. And we know early treatment makes all the difference. Early treatment means a big increase in survival rates. Mufti will be talking about his work on early detection of Alzheimer's disease. He looks a bit surprised that's in the agenda, but it's a very interesting project using our approach, especially in the context in Bangladesh. And another sister British Council project we have, we're doing the same kind of thing as we're doing here, but having AI educational tools in Vietnam for inclusive education in schools. And we're going to share some of our practices. So, day 1, session 4, 2 o'clock, really led by Arif, who seems to be furiously finishing his notes out. Guidelines for universal design and learning. This is a scientific approach where we optimize learning for all students. And we move away from one size fits all. I write some learning materials, everyone can access it. No, we differentiate them. So if you're a person with dyslexia, or you have a mobility problem or a sight issue, you can still access these materials. Then, this poster on the right-hand side, we give this to all of our staff at NTU. This shows you the do's and don'ts of producing digital training materials for people with dyslexia. a handy look-up list. We also have these for students with mobility issues, dyspraxia, autism, students with anxiety. So you can easily understand how you write materials to give optimum accessibility for those students. Then we're going to show you a database. We've collected a huge compendium of best practices, projects, freely available assistive technology that you can use. This is all open source and freely available. So if you're a person from a less privileged background, please use some of these content creation tools, these existing resources. We do not want to invent the wheel. We want to share best practice. We have, and I've got a few minutes now just to finish off, some other supporting tools. We have the engagement app based on AI to understand if students are engaged, bored or frustrated. And as a teacher, you can identify quickly the people who aren't engaged and intervene. We have a range of text-to-speech languages. If you're a person who finds it difficult to read text because you have dyslexia, or the instructional material isn't in your first language, these tools will automatically read out the text. We have a handbook, almost, which is in production now, which summarizes all of this. You can have this in your shelf in your office. And we have a whole range of other tools. We have a tool working on AI which automatically assesses whether a course text is applicable to the reading ability of your students. We have virtual reality tools, interactive labs. Many of our students, we get our students in the UK to have to give a public talk in their first or second year. Most of them are extremely frightened, as we all were when we first gave a public talk. This virtual environment allows them to practice in an audience of varying size, in a way of like virtual exposure therapy, so they become less and less frightened of doing a talk like that and increasingly habituated. Many tools which are free to use. So we have all these Moodle-based content based on inclusive learning design, universal design for learning, and then some very high-end EdTech tools that you can use for free. We'll be going more into this, a schematic of the tool and all of the options. Mufti will cover this on day 3 with Shamin, I think, where we look at a tool which understands, just using sensors, a camera, facial features, eye gaze, how engaged you're in learning or not. We have other tools, the speech-to-text generator, based by another colleague in India, automatically reading out Tamil, Odia, English. We have a human hologram interaction with large language models. Huge potential for education here, especially for things like AI-driven content recommendations. Recommend books to do with reading ability of your students. Supported learning. These large language models have been trained to teach mathematics, history. You can adapt these to the Bangladesh context. And we interface these with 3D holographic images. You know, these are the potential. We don't expect you to integrate these now, but because we have this large language model which has an ability to imitate human understanding, it's going to be provide an engaging, intuitive and less intimidating approach. We also have more advanced approaches like retrieval augmented generation, which means we don't, when we update our static training models, we only go out to trusted and new sources. We have this reading ability tool, which we don't have to explain too much now. I'll explain on the final day, but uses AI and computational linguistics to understand the complexity of your textbooks and recommend them for various people in your group, depending on ability. These are free to use. Less advantaged or less privileged students won't have money. Most of these systems, which are commercial, cost huge amounts of money, and they're usually based on the US educational system. Let's have free versions, which are based on the Bangladesh system, which are open source. We also have other tools to emotionally support people with autism, so that when they have emotional dysregulation, we can identify that at an early stage and intervene while there's still chance to decrease the intensity and frequency of emotional dysregulation events. Lastly, the potential of generative AI, and I have 2 minutes. These tools have increased massive ability, massive potential in education. The way that they can generate highly personalized and contextual information in real time and give responses which are in multiple formats, not just text, pictures, audio, so that you can fully understand as a person who's neurodiverse the output, and they can produce personalized learning pathways for your neurodiverse students. We can prompt them to say, explain the elections here to an 18-year-old with dyslexia, include simple, easy to understand sentences, and include a graphic. And I guess we can all do that with that kind of explanation for incredibly political situations also occurring in the UK. We have a good practice guide in the UK on how we ethically use generative AI in education. We have to catch up with our students. Our students are already using generative AI, and sometimes, as we said, it's hard to know when they're doing this. So let's give them the guideline about how they can ethically do this and use it in teaching, learning, and assessment. And online, and I hope you will all join us, we'll have 3 workshops to co-design a new module on the use of generative AI in education. Great promise, but we need to do it carefully and ethically. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Actually, I forgot to ask one thing. This session is being recorded. If you have any concern, please raise your hand. Okay. So nobody have any concern. So at this stage, I would like to request Mr. Tawfiq Hassan, Head of Education at British Council, Bangladesh. Thank you.
Professor M. Saidur Rahman, Honorable Member of the University Grants Commission, Dr. M. Mahfuzur Rahman, Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor of Jahangirnagar University, distinguished colleagues from the Nottingham Trent University and Bangladesh higher education sector, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. It is a pleasure to welcome you at this important workshop titled Generative AI for Good, Widening Access to Tertiary Education in Bangladesh. I extend my sincere thanks to Nottingham Trent University, Jahangirnagar University, PUET, AIUB, and all our partners for your commitment to building inclusive, equitable education in Bangladesh. At the British Council, we believe education is a right for all, regardless of socioeconomic status, ability, or gender. Our global mission is rooted in fostering Sorry, shall I just put it off? Sorry. Our global mission is rooted in fostering meaningful relationships based on equality, diversity, and inclusion. These values guide our programs, partnerships, and engagement with learners, educators, and institutions worldwide and including here in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, our higher education work focuses on opportunity, inclusion, and innovation. Programs like Researchers Connect, Teaching Excellence Program, our fellowship program, and higher education leadership program have engaged hundreds of academics, researchers, policymakers contributing to systemic change. As Professor David said, internationalization is at the core of British Council Higher Education Programme. Our new transnational education strategy, TNE strategy, strengthens scalable and sustainable UK TNE globally, built-in beta data, enabling environment, removal of barriers, and education system transformation. It aligns with national priorities and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. TNS is just not delivering UK education abroad, but driving national development and inclusive learning. We are proud to have awarded this year 5 transnational education grants in Bangladesh, including today's initiative. These cover blended learning framework, generative AI for good, digital manufacturing certification, cybersecurity education partnership, midwifery education, and women's empowerment. So you can all understand the important areas that we're covering through our transnational education grants this year. The Generative AI for Good project represents how transnational education can evolve beyond traditional degree delivery, enabling joint research, co-created solutions, and shared innovation between the UK and Bangladeshi higher education institutions. By leveraging the strengths of both systems, this collaboration exemplifies TNE's role in addressing national challenges, expanding access, and building inclusive education system. A recent milestone of TNE, if you are aware of the latest development, there was a joint PhD in global development launched by Bragg University and SOAS University of London last week, a first of its kind partnership in Bangladesh. So we really believe TNE has great potential in Bangladesh. The Generative AI for Good project, led by Nottingham Trent University in partnership with Jahangirnagar University, BUET, and AIUB, exemplifies how technology can bridge opportunity gaps. The Diverse Asia Toolkit, co-created by these universities, offers AI-powered tools adapting content for dyslexic learners, supporting neurodivergent engagement, and improving accessibility for those with impairments. AI here is just an enabler of equity, but not a disruptor. The British Council remains committed to strengthening the UK-Bangladesh partnerships, enhancing institutional capacities, working with stakeholders like the Ministry of Education, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh Accreditation Council, and university leaders to embed inclusive practices in policies and delivery. We also ensure Bangladesh's voice is present in global platforms like Going Global, Education World Forum, and Deep Dialogue. You would be pleased to know that this week, one director from the University Grants Commission and the additional secretary from the Ministry of Education, they're attending the Deep Dialogue Conference in Cardiff to ensure that Bangladesh voice is heard at the global platforms. Dear colleagues, inclusivity demands innovation, collaboration, and empathy. Today is not an end, but just the beginning, a call to demand inclusive design and AI for good in every classroom and curriculum. On behalf of the British Council, I reaffirm our full support, and I look forward to the positive impact this work will bring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Head of Education at British Council Bangladesh, for sharing different activities of British Council and your commitment to our higher tertiary education in Bangladesh. At this stage, I would like to say a few words. I would like to welcome Professor Dr. M. Mahfuzur Rahman, Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academics of Jahangirnagar University, to say a few words.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Muhammad Sadur Rahman, Member of the University Grants Commission, Bangladesh, respected representatives from the British Council, Bangladesh, our partners from Nottingham Trent University, United Kingdom, and King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, distinguished academics, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. It is really a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today at the opening ceremony of this important workshop entitled Generative AI for